Every year at Convocation, UBC has the honor of bestowing honorary doctorates upon individuals who, in the opinion of the university, fit the criteria of excellence and eminence in their chosen field, and who have also, in our opinion, lived lives that will be inspirational to you, our graduates. Anthony von Mandl exemplifies these characteristics, and I invite him now to step forward to receive his honorary degree. Mr. Chancellor, an acclaimed business leader and visionary entrepreneur, Anthony von Mandl has dedicated his life's work to placing British Columbia's Okanagan Valley on the international map. As proprietor of Mission Hill Family Estates and founder and chief executive officer of the Mark Anthony Group of Companies and chairman of the Von Mandl Family Foundation, he is a true British Columbian and Canadian success story. In pursuing his vision, he has created some of the most dramatic destination wineries anywhere in the world. This collection of prestige wineries and estate vineyards includes some of the most prominent names in the Okanagan Valley: Cedar Creek Estate Winery, Checkmate Artisanal Winery, Martin's Lane Winery, and the iconic Mission Hill Family Estate. Each winery meticulously crafts a distinct portfolio of luxury wines that are a true reflection of the territory of the valley and are synonymous with unparalleled quality and sustained excellence. With over 180,000 visitors annually, his wineries have been instrumental in developing a substantial agro-tourism industry in British Columbia, which now boasts more than 270 wineries and employs more than 10,000 people. Among his many honors, awards, and distinctions, he is a recipient of the Order of British Columbia and was appointed an officer of the Order of Canada in 2016. He is also a humanitarian and philanthropist, a champion for the environment, and is renowned for his support of the visual and performing arts. Mr. Chancellor, in recognition of his extraordinary leadership in business and the arts, and his instrumental role in establishing British Columbia's thriving wine industry, I ask you to confer the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa upon Anthony von Mandl.
By authority of the Okanagan Senate of this university, I confer upon you, Anthony von Mandl, the title and degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Congratulations.
Class of 2018, you are looking at a very impressive Dr. von Mandl, and I ask him to please say a few words to you as soon-to-be graduates.
Thank you, President Ono. I cannot begin to tell you how humbled I am to receive this prestigious honor. My gratitude to the University of British Columbia, Okanagan, and in particular, Professor Deborah Buzzard, the Okanagan Senate, the Board of Governors, Chancellor Lindsay Gordon, and of course, faculty and students. Today is about our graduates and your family and friends who have supported you on your journey. What a significant personal milestone for each of your lives. When I was in your shoes, I never imagined I would be asked to return to my alma mater to address a graduating class. I believe our dreams can come true. Visions can be realized, and that every one of you can accomplish things in your lives beyond your wildest expectations. Why? Because it happened to me. When I graduated from UBC with an economics degree, I didn't have a dime to my name. All I had was a dream and a lot of student loans. I had no idea, in order to turn my dream into reality, I would build a company that today has sales over $1 billion a year and hundreds of employees in Canada, the United States, and Europe. So, here's my story. At the age of 22, out of a 100-square-foot office in Vancouver, I started up Canada's first company that called itself a wine merchant. I began to represent European wine producers and suppliers and try to sell their wines at provincial liquor boards from province to province. My rent was $29.95 a month. And there were months I didn't know where to find the money to pay for it. That's true. Mark Anthony Wine Merchant's entrance was through the stage door of the Queenswith Playhouse Theatre in Vancouver, and it was a hike up 3 linoleum-tiled sets of stairs, no elevator. It was a very humble beginning. For the first 6 years, I lived hand-to-mouth just to stay in business. There were endless obstacles. I skipped a lot of meals, had the rug pulled out from under me countless times, but throughout it all, I persevered. The key decision of my career was to, instead of just selling others' companies' products, to also develop our own brands, create trademarks we would own, design the labels, search out great wines at source, blend them ourselves to Canadian tastes, and then have them bottled in Europe and California and bring them to market across the country. After that, things started to fall in place. At the age of 31, we had 13 team members, several top-selling wines across the country, and suppliers from around the world were beating on our door to be their Canadian importer. After 9 years in business, I was a financial success, and to outsiders, I had made it. But my goal wasn't just to build an import business, it was a much larger, audacious goal. To build one of the world's 10 most recognized wineries, and to do this in an unknown region, the Okanagan Valley, in Canada, a country at the time not even thought of as a wine producer. Well, there were more than a few obstacles to overcome, starting with the fact that owning a winery is extremely capital intensive, risky, and a very long-term venture. So let me share a secret with you on how to make a small fortune in the wine business. Well, all you have to do is start with a large one. Well, I didn't have one, but at least by then I paid my student loans off. At the time, the concept, the idea of producing high-end wines in the Okanagan was unimaginable. So not surprising, no one believed in my outrageous dream, let alone was prepared to invest. If I was going to make it happen, the only option was to self-finance. I would have to dream up creative ways to start new businesses outside wines that would produce the cash flow needed to finance my dream. Well, at the time, there were only 5 wineries in the Okanagan, one of which happened to be in some financial difficulty, and there was very good reason for that if you tried their products. I mortgaged everything I owned, borrowed the rest from the banks, and managed to acquire the Golden Valley Winery, changed the name as fast as I could to leave their reputation behind, and renamed it Mission Hill after its amazing hilltop location. Believe me, it looked nothing like it does today. It was a sorry sight. A year later, the world economy was in a deep recession, and Canada was perhaps one of the hardest hit countries. We were paying 25% interest. The banks essentially shut down lending in Western Canada. Just as we were getting started, it looked like the end. To survive, our only option was to innovate, to do things that had never been done before. Golden Valley, the winery we had purchased, in addition to making wine, was also one of 2 cider producers in the province. As their cider was, along with their wines, were virtually undrinkable, the competitor had 92% market share. They had 8. Well, I thought we should be able to do better than that, and found experts in Switzerland in the cider business. I'd lived in Switzerland as a boy, and went on to create the Okanagan Cider Company. Now, our innovation was to, in addition to now producing amazing tasting apple ciders, make the world's first ever flavored ciders using Okanagan fruit, and we tripled the entire size of the Canadian cider business and launched what is now the largest cider company in the country. Amazing. No one else had ever thought about it. We did everything we could think of to self-finance my dream, including launching a then completely unknown beer from Mexico, a country where you couldn't even drink the water, called Corona, all to provide the cash flow urgently needed to make wines at Mission Hill that could stand next to the best in the world. In the early years, the obstacles at times seemed insurmountable. Just when we thought we were coming out of the woods, another challenge was thrown in our path. So, here's my key learning through it all. When you hit a roadblock, invent something new. See all roadblocks as the opportunity to create new paths, as uncharted territory. And that's what we did time and time again. Early on, I was invited to speak to the Kelowna Chamber of Commerce. I think it was a slow month. And I spoke of my vision of dozens of wineries dotting the valley that would lead to an agritourism business with high-end bed and breakfasts and restaurants, attracting recession-proof visitors, creating support industries, and driving this valley's economy. A new blueprint for the Okanagan, which at the time was an economically challenged region. I received polite applause, and many openly wondered how long we'd be around. Well, it took 13 long years before I knew my dream had legs, when out of the blue, Mission Hill won the trophy for top Chardonnay worldwide at the prestigious International Wine and Spirit Competition in London, England. This was a crucible moment for me, for Mission Hill, and for the entire Okanagan Valley. Lightning had struck. Making exceptional wines was one important aspect of success, but I also believe that someone had to build a destination winery in the Okanagan that would attract visitors from the world over. Visitors to Mission Hill would need to leave with a lasting memory they would never, ever forget. And the building and architecture would have to endure and remain relevant and contemporary for the next 300 or 400 years. This had to be all about the long term. I searched Canada and then internationally for an architect to work with to design the new Mission Hill Family Estate Winery in the mid-1990s, and was fortunate to find a little-known architect at the time, Tom Kundig in Seattle. Mission Hill was his first major project, and today Tom is acclaimed as an international superstar architect, a true starchitect. Together, we traveled Europe, Napa, and spent days and days talking about my dream to realize a bell tower and underground cellars blasted into the volcanic rock. Now, when construction started, I didn't have the heart to tell Tom. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. No group of partners or public company would have ever embarked on something that was so ambitiously outrageous at the time, and pressure was on to find a way to pay for the winery as it was being built. Well, thankfully, design and construction took 5 years. And in that time, we'd successfully created an entirely new beverage category, first in Canada and then in the United States, with the development and the launch of Mike's Hard Lemonade. We found our way to pay for the new winery. Well, we built it and they came. And today there are just under 300 wineries in the Okanagan, now a $2 billion industry employing 10,000 people, plus a vibrant agritourism industry. But we're not there yet. We are nowhere near realizing the full potential of this valley. We've only begun to put this valley on the map, a valley that is minuscule in terms of production and relevance. Europe has some 14 million acres of vineyards. The Okanagan has under 10,000. 10,000 acres versus 14 million acres. Which is relevant? So, our only option for the future, our only option to grow and succeed and thrive, is to continuously to raise the bar, to produce wines that stun the international wine world and can be made nowhere else. Now with us, it starts not only with a vision, passion, and relentless determination, but also with the science and expertise we employ in our 36 vineyard sites, from the north to the south of this valley, and the amazing viticultural and technical teams we have assembled from around the world. Today, we are possibly the world leader in the use of drones in vineyards, now flying them at night as well as by day. We are currently, and this is unannounced, transitioning every one of our vineyards to organic farming, and have countless innovations and centers of excellence to continue to increase the distinctiveness and the uniqueness of our wines. Our family's new Checkmate artisanal winery, located down in Oliver near the US border, makes the highest end Le Montrachet-like $100 a bottle plus Chardonnays. Right here in the Okanagan. Who thought that was ever possible? And instead of launching Checkmate in Vancouver or Toronto, we held the world premiere for our little winery in New York, the premiere, the media capital of the world, in a restaurant just featured in Vanity Fair last month as New York's place to be seen. The audience were 70 environmental journalists and key wine writers, and our guest speaker was the world's preeminent scientist and researcher on climate change in vineyards. The message was groundbreaking, shining a light on a subject that had been rarely spoken about in the wine industry. The fact that climate change is now fundamentally changing the wine world, making it impossible to produce elegant, sophisticated Chardonnays, for example, in the Napa Valley. Instead, the Okanagan has now moved into a magical climate zone for Chardonnay, if you do it right. Then in the fall of 2013, something incredibly unexpected happened. Mission Hill won a Best Pinot Noir in the World trophy at the Decanter Wine Awards in London. 14,000 wines are entered there. Lightning had struck again. Now, we'd been working on Pinot Noir at Mission Hill for 15 years, as I believed that our microclimates in the northern Okanagan were ideal. So now was the time to build a new winery that only made Pinot Noir and Riesling. Now, they call Pinot Noir the heartbreak grape because it is the most difficult to make red wine. Pinot Noir hates pumps, to be pumped in a winery. So we decided to build a winery right into a steep, rocky hillside and use only gravity instead of pumps to move the grapes, juice, and wine. The goal is to put the Okanagan on the map for the highest end Pinot Noir next to Burgundy in France. Well, the results? Martin's Lane Winery, what experts are calling, quote, the most radical 6-level 100% gravity-fed Pinot Noir winery in the world. Named after my late father Martin, the winery's contemporary design perfectly reflects the intense natural environment of the Okanagan. The corrugated, weathered Corten steel mirrors the bark of the surrounding ponderosa pines, and the black steel accents are reminiscent of the blackened tree trunks scarred in a devastating forest fire that engulfed the valley in 2003. And when you're out on the lake, you can barely see the new winery. It so perfectly fits into our landscape. Now, at Martin's Lane, we produce extremely limited quantities of Pinot Noir and Riesling that are making a name for themselves on the world stage. Our first vintage of $175 a bottle, Fritzi's Vineyard Pinot Noir, Fritzi, by the way, is my mom's name, was awarded an unprecedented 97-point score by Stephen Spurrier, a British winery industry icon, who said this was the highest score he had ever given to an inaugural wine from a new winery. Martin's Lane made its debut last year with TED conference attendees and has been profiled in the London-based international design magazine Wallpaper. Several other media outlets in the US and Europe, including Dwell magazine, have also included Martin's Lane in feature stories highlighting the contemporary winery architecture and are describing it as an architectural marvel. So, how do my learnings apply to you? I began by saying that each of you has the potential to achieve far more than you ever dreamt of. Regardless of what career you pursue, a couple of things that are clear is that to succeed, you first have to find and pursue your passion. And never, after that, forget, even for an instant, that we now live in a global economy, one that is more competitive and in one in which customers and consumers expect more, faster than ever before. Today, regardless where you live, how small or large the community, we all must operate at a world caliber standard and expect it from those around us. Now, people loosely use the phrase world class. It's not easy. Look at the wine business, where we have over 1 million competitive wineries in the world. You can't just stay in the Okanagan and think you're going to succeed. You have to travel, experience, and study in the great regions of the world and bring home best practices and new and better ways of doing things. And importantly, in my mind, you also have to look outside an industry in order to reinvent it. No other wine region in the world has the gift of our pristine environment, unique regional terroir, and the potential to be the next hotspot to attract upscale visitors from around the globe. But we will never achieve that if we are truly not committed to being the best, to being world class. Settling is no longer an option for anyone in any field, because if you settle, sooner or later, you will be replaced by someone else, by a competitor, by a robot, or by artificial intelligence. Perseverance, continuously innovating, and always raising the bar is what it takes to set you apart and change the world. Now, my final thoughts to you are, graduates, have a dream, believe in it, and in yourself. Then, never let anyone take your dream from you. Guard it with your life, and never settle or compromise your integrity. And importantly, know it's truly not about making money. It's about making a difference. Making money is the byproduct of doing something you love, something you're incredibly good at. Instead, plan to leave a legacy, something that outlasts you, so that your life leaves a lasting impression and makes an impact. It's much more fulfilling. Now, rest assured there will be failures along the way, but remember, what looks like a failure at the time is actually learning. There is always a silver lining in something gone wrong. And let me leave you with one last thought. A small, committed, and passionate team can take on the Goliaths, win, and change the world. It only takes a dream realized to accomplish what others thought was impossible. There's nothing stopping you but yourselves. Know, with perseverance and the commitment to never settle, you can do it. The very best for your futures, and once again, my sincerest thanks to the University of British Columbia, Okanagan, for this exceptional honor. Thank you. All the best.